Hello everyone, I'm Cheryl McGreevy and today I would like to show you a fun and easy lesson in phonics. We'll look at why phonics is so important and how you can teach phonics in the classroom. This lesson is aimed at 4 to 5 year olds, but it can easily be adapted to children that are younger, children that are older, children that are English with a second language or with special educational needs. But I'll show you how to adapt the activity towards the end of the lesson. Phonics, put simply, is teaching the children the sounds of the letters to develop their reading and writing. So we're linking with the curriculum, with the reading and the writing. We teach the sounds before we teach the actual name of the letter. So for example, we will teach L rather than teaching Al. Al comes after we've taught what the sounds sound like. Common mistakes people make when teaching phonics is they add a vowel to the end of the letter. So for example, when you're trying to teach a child the letter M, people will say M. So you're adding a vowel towards the end of the letter. When really it should be M. That is the sound that you would make when you're saying a word. So for example, mountain. So it's very, very important for them to understand the pronunciation of the actual letters. Otherwise, when it comes to them blending the letters, they're going to find it very, very difficult. Phonics has 6 phases, and it's important for children to successfully complete each phase before they move on to the next one. Children in reception will complete phases 1 to 3, and so they're ready for the more complex phases from year 1 onwards. It's better to focus on 3 letters per week. That way, then you're not going to confuse the children with too many letters and too many sounds. So, to begin this phonics lesson in a classroom, it's important to do some recognition activities to recap the children's previous knowledge with phonics. So, for example, you could play a quick game of I Spy on last week's letters that you learned. So, for example, I could say, I spy with my little eye something that is G. Something that sounds like G. G. And you could look around and you could say, grass. So, and that will recap the children's memory of what they learnt last week or what they've previously learnt at home. So, for today's lesson, we're going to focus on the sounds P, S, T. And you'll want to show the children the shape of the letter. So for example, I've got some letters dotted around that children can actually see the letter and they can hear what this letter should sound like. So what we'll do is we'll play a quick game of when I say the letter or the sound, the children will then be able to go and run to the letter and to make sure that they understand what it looks like and what it's supposed to sound like. So for example, I would say S, and I would run over and I'd place my hand on it. I would then ask for the letter T. And I'd place my hand on the T. I would then ask for the letter P. And I would place my hand on the letter P. Once you've gone through all of your letter sounds, it's worth recapping. So you can recap by playing the game again and moving them further afield, so the children have got further to run, or you can place them on the table so with a swatter so they can play indoors as well, so it's not always outdoors. Another game that we can play is we can bring some toys into the activity. So I would ask the children, each child will take an object and they will take it to the relevant letter. So for example, I have Teddy, Teddy, and the children would run replace the teddy with the corresponding letter. You would do that for all of the letters. So, for example, I have shoe. I would run over the shoe and I'd place it under the shoe. I have Spider-Man, so I would find, where would Spider-Man go? The children would look around and find, there it goes with Spider-Man. We have pencil. The children would look at the pencil and you would ask, where would pencil go? Children would run over and they would place it under. Ha! You could have spoon. Children would run over and place it with this. Right, stop. Yeah. Another game that you could play is you could ask the children, when picking out a toy from your tub, you could ask the children, what letter would truck begin with? And the children would then guess truck, and they can place it onto the truck pile. Now it's worth to add a challenge to this lesson, and the way you can add a challenge to the lesson is by picking up a different toy with a different sound into it. Dinosaur. Could dinosaur go in with our letters S, T and P? And we can see then if the children can find the odd one out. And that way they will start understanding what letters go with what objects and what letters don't go with what objects. So again, you could ask bus. Bus. Where would bus go? Would it go with S? Would it go with T? Or would it go with P? And the children will be able to see if it goes with T, P or S. But because it's B, it won't go with any. So they then find the odd one out. And this is a good way for children to recognise all different sounds and all different letters, not just the letters that you're focusing on. You could also simplify this lesson, especially for children who are younger, or children with special educational needs, or again children who are with English as a second language. A very beneficial way of doing this is you could take a letter away and just focus on 2 letters for the week. You could also, which is very beneficial for all children, is add actions to your letters. So for example, if we were going to focus on the letters, we want to have an action that would match the sound. So you'd go snake, and you would move your arm, snake. You'd puff on your finger, puff on your finger, bouncing on a tennis table. So that way children are memorising not just the letter, not just the sound, but they're memorising an action, which when they've learned all of their letters and sounds, they'll be able to connect these and they'll be able to blend these, so they will no longer need to use the action, and they will just be able to focus on the sound and the letter, ready for blending, ready for their reading and writing. So to end this phonics session, it is important to repeat the sounds that you've learnt in your activity. So again, you can go over your letters and just recap and make sure that the children understand what the letters and sounds look like and what they are supposed to sound like. Another recognition game you could play, again similar to the beginning of the lesson, is you could play I Spy, and you could ask the children to look around in their garden, at home, in the classroom, and find other objects that they can think of that could begin with s, t and p. That way, they're not just focusing on the objects that you're bringing into the activity. They're using their mind to go and look for other objects, other nature, to be able to recognise the beginnings of their sounds. So, for example, there's two ways of doing this ending session of recognition. You could say, I spy with my little eye something that begins with t, and the children will look around their environment and look for objects or nature that begins with t. So, for example, we could say trees. Trees begin with t. We could say, I spy with my little eye something that begins with s, s. And the children could look around and they could say sky. Or you could say, I spy with my little eye something that begins with p, p, p. And the children would look around and they would find plants. Now you can reverse this and you can make it a little bit more challenging, and you could ask, rather than ask it beginning with the actual letter, you could ask, what letter does plants start with? And the children will then have to recognise what the letter sounds like and what the letter looks like, and they will have to choose between the s and t. And again, you could ask that for anything, and you could even throw in an extra challenge by saying, what letter does chair sound with? And the children will then have that extra bit of challenge of seeing if chair matches with s, t, and hopefully they'll realise that it doesn't and that it is an odd one out. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.